Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Warren Files. It's been a while since we've had Chris on, so we decided we should probably get him on his on the show that his foundation runs.
I'm excited. It's been a long time since I've been on the show, and I'm especially excited this evening because we've got these wonderful people, and I get to share whatever information they want to learn about.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so Chris and I talk quite a bit, so like, how do I even interview you anymore? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, well, let's open it up to people that follow the page, and after talking to them in the green room, I think this is going to be a fantastic night. This was either the greatest idea I've had or the worst. I wasn't sure what it was going to be yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good idea. So
I'm sure it is.
You said you had I'm going to introduce, we have Ashley with us from Virginia. Corey is from Nevada, and Mary did she say Brooklyn?
She was in
I'm from New York.
Originally.
Okay,
Yeah.
So Mary's from New York. Yes, I should have known by the accent.
Yes, that's correct.
So, but anyway, Chris wanted to tell a story before we get into you three ladies asking questions. This is going to be great. I'm going to have the night off. I'm just going to sit back and watch. Sit in the living room.
I've got to apologize to everyone. I mean, it has been a very long time since I've been on. I love this program. I started 8 years ago, and now I'm just so proud that it's become a place where many people share what they know about the foundation, about the paranormal and their viewpoints, because, there are an awful lot of people out there that give really crappy information. So we vet them. We know that we're dealing with really good people, and we're giving you the best we can. Having said that, I am currently on an island in Brazil called Florianopolis. It's after 10 o'clock at night. And I have been trying to stay awake because last night at 3:15 in the morning, I had trouble going to sleep. I hadn't even fallen asleep yet. My bedroom door opens up. I open my eyes, and there's this naked black woman looking down at me from above the bed. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, because I have a friend that travels with me, but she was with her boyfriend last night. And I was thinking, why is she in my bedroom naked at 3:15 in the morning? And when did she come home? And then I looked more closely and I realized, wait a minute, that's not her. And this person doesn't look quite human. And then, now I had thought my eyes were open. And then I opened them again and she was gone. What makes it even more interesting is, at the same time, my friend was having the same experience with her boyfriend on the other side of town, getting visited by this same entity. Now, she had had a dream. Now, she never tells me her dreams. But this one she told me about last week. And as soon as she started telling me about it, I realized what she was dreaming about. She is not from Brazil. She's from Venezuela. She had no idea what she was talking about. But she said she was in a restaurant and there was a coffin at her feet and a skeleton in it. And for some reason, she started talking to it. And then it was a black man with beads and beadwork and a dress, big dressing around his shoulders and chest and something on his head. And he got up and he took her hand and he said, "Come with me." And they went out and they went into a restaurant. He turned his back and all of a sudden he was a woman dressed in green. And they had started to eat. He turned again and it was this black man with the bare chest. And he said, "Now come with me." And they got on an airplane. And he said, "Be careful, something's going to happen, but I will protect you." And the doors blew open on the plane, and he grew into a giant, wrapped her in his arms, and carried her out of the plane, walking on the sky. And I knew immediately that she was dreaming about something called the Orishas. The Orisha are very important to Brazilian culture. They are an Afro-Brazilian amalgamation of Catholic or Christian saints and Jesus with African deities. And they manifest now as nature spirits. And she's dreaming about them. So I have a very strong feeling that when I move back to Colombia, January 2nd, she won't be coming with me. I think she's meant to stay in Brazil. Why this visitation happened last night? Well, that's probably why I only got an hour's sleep last night, because I couldn't figure it out and I really wanted to. So I'm half awake and I apologize for that.
Do we need to get this involved? The holy water?
No.
Okay.
There's nothing evil involved here. She wasn't particularly friendly, but she was not threatening at all.
Well, if that would have happened to me, I definitely would have got the holy water out and started dousing.
Well, I used the white light.
Or the gun.
Do that.
So that's an interesting story. So well, I'm not even going to ask you questions. The whole purpose of this was to let Ashley and Corey and I hope Mary comes back. So Mary, if you're listening, just hit the link again and we'll try and get you back in here, because I wanted, like I said, just fans of the page or followers of the page to be the ones that direct the show. So let's go ahead and start with Ashley.
Hi, Chris. Okay, so I like to start by asking, obviously you were trained and learned from legends Ed and Lorraine, but I would like to know personally from you, what was your first experience where you personally saw and knew that the paranormal was in fact there and real? Like, what was your oh my God moment?
Well, my first case was my oh my God moment.
Mm-hmm.
But even before my first case, and that was when I was 16, when I was 14, I was with my grandparents. And I guess that was my first oh my God moment, because they were doing a TV interview with one of those PM magazines that used to exist. And the interviewer took my grandparents and a local reporter and myself to this house that was reportedly haunted. We were not allowed to go inside the house. Now, the local reporter had been working on a story about the house. And while my grandmother stood out front in front of this house talking about this apparition of a heavy-set man with a bloody apron and a butcher's knife and the smell of rotting flesh coming out from underneath the sink and all of this other stuff, the reporter, who has not yet written his story, is showing me his notes of all the things that have been reported about this house. And I'm like, oh my God, my grandmother's amazing. So that was my first oh my God moment.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Just as a side note too, I want everybody to know we're going to do a side show. We're going to test an app tonight. So I'm just going to let this Spirit Talker app run. We're not going to ask it any questions. and then I'm going to tell you at the end of the show what all comes up. And then, this is going to lead into a video that we're going to put on our YouTube channel about, some of the apps and the equipment. So, sorry.
Here, I thought I would be the sideshow.
Well, I mean, you can be if you want. Let's see if I can put some graphics like a little clown hat on you. I'm just kidding. So, Corey, what's your first question? What do you got for Chris?
So, my question is they have, I've read about tulpas and how it's energy that manifests into what is now folklore for most of us. I read something where your grandfather investigated with someone else down in Kentucky and about Sasquatch, and he said, I think it's a tulpa. What's your opinion on that? Because I think of them as interdimensional beings, possibly. We don't know. It's out of the normal. But can people really manifest those tulpas to the point where they're seen all over the world?
Well, I'm going to answer that in two different ways. First, my grandmother communicated with Bigfoot down there. So she said that this is a real living, thinking being. It's peaceful, and it just wants to be left alone. So she felt something completely different. Now, tulpas and egregores, same thing. Also, a good explanation for most poltergeist phenomena. These are thought manifestations that take on a life of their own. I certainly have found in my experience, and as people may or may not know, I've lived in 96 places around the world. I have seen that things manifest differently in different cultures based on folklore and cultural beliefs, spiritual beliefs. So, yeah, I absolutely believe that these elementals, as well as demons, can easily be explained as tulpas or egregores. These are spirits created by our energy that take on a life of their own and then can wreak havoc. They can actually go out and do harm. They're very real. They're not just something of the imagination. Mm-hmm. We have extraordinary power. And if we learn how to use it properly, like Tibetan monks, for instance, do, they can create the tulpa of a Siberian tiger in the middle of their monastery to chase down the young novitiates who are making too much noise. And then it just disappears when they want it to.
I do have a question. Absolutely. I do have a question that's tied directly into Corey's question. So I think that I've heard you say that you believe that that's what Annabelle is.
Yes.
And, yeah. So that the actual owner and the roommate actually created the entity that ended up haunting Annabelle.
Yes. Especially once the medium came up with the backstory and created a whole mythology of it. And when my grandmother came upon it, given her own spiritual beliefs, she could feel the negative energy, and she felt that, yes, this is demonic. And because my grandfather believed that no human spirit could inhabit a doll, that God would not allow that, he also believed that this had to be demonic. And Toddy, absolutely, we attract the energy that we desire, but we do it by putting that same energy out into the universe. My grandmother used to say, like attracts like. And I have found if you are in a negative headspace as an investigator, if you're depressed or having a rough day or angry, do not go on an investigation. It is irresponsible and dangerous to the people you're supposed to be there serving.
I have a piggyback on that comment on what you just said. So let's say you have somebody comes to you and they want to start investigating. They're young and they're fresh and they don't know anything about the paranormal. Where would you tell them to begin?
I tell them to learn a lot first, because the truth is, I don't believe in paranormal unity. I think the idea that, for instance, you want to be a surgeon, so I'm just going to hand you a scalpel. Well, that seems a little insane. and we are dealing with people's lives. So learn psychology, learn quantum physics, and then, I hate to say it, but go check out the Warren Files on YouTube, because that information I know you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even my grandparents' books, some of them are good, some of them are absolute crap, because they didn't write any of them.
Right.
You know, and even the ones that are good, like the Demonologist, which is often used as a textbook in a lot of paranormal classes.
Mm-hmm.
No, because as good as it was written to terrify. It was written to titillate as well as inform.
Mm-hmm.
And we need something else. And I'm working on that something else right now.
Oh, yay.
I think I would add to that too. It's sometimes almost easier to tell them what not to watch. I mean, like, they need to watch more Lloyd Auerbach as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to Sam and Colby, or, you know, some of these YouTube or Ghost Adventures or shows like that. We can always tell the people that apply to the foundation that their education has been through YouTube and TV shows. We can always tell those people that apply to be members.
Yeah.
So,
get with a reputable team with a good reputation. Come to us, ask us for recommendations for teams. We've got people out there that you can work with, you know, and you may not be a member of the foundation, but you might be a member of one of our members' teams, you know, and then learn from them, and then eventually join us. We have plenty of people that do that. One of our responsibilities in the foundation, one of our goals, is to educate the next generation of researchers. But this isn't a hobby.
Right.
And it shouldn't be treated as a hobby. This is not for fun. Hell, I don't even like the paranormal. I don't do this because it excites me. I do this because of the bad groups out there. I do this because it's needed. It's a responsibility.
Am I alive?
Corey,
Yes.
you're up.
Yeah, and I heard somebody else say, "Am I
turn?"
online?" Is that Mary?
Yeah.
No.
It's the spirit talker.
You heard our spirit talker.
Oh, yeah.
It's very active tonight.
Okay.
So if I just disappear randomly all of a sudden, chalk it up to
Just keep
chalk it
going.
up to the skeleton that has power that is buried in ice.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm scared.
What do you have for me, Corey?
Well, Chris, that was going to be one of my, next questions, to kind of off of Ashley's as well, is, at what point in time, does it go from I'm investigating to find out what's on the other side versus just there to get my skivvies scared off me? We went to a Paracon, and it was a lot of, people who just wanted to be scared. And it was like, no, I want to find out for sure what's going on. I don't, I want to communicate, possibly get somebody's story. But a lot of them were there just, for the terror factor. And it really wasn't terror. It was kind of fun. But, I got to meet a lot of great people.
I've never been to a Paracon. I would like to start being invited to them, but people have got to pay me to go to them, because I live in Columbia most of the year. I can't afford to just come on my own. I'm on a pension.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to do it because I want to educate the public. I love that opportunity to talk, and this is why I'm so excited to talk to you both tonight.
Yeah, I could piggyback off of that. So obviously you are well experienced, and you've said you've traveled many. You say how many? 46 countries?
96 places around the world.
Right. So based on that and all you've seen, is there a place left in Chris's bucket list that he really wants to be or go see that he hasn't yet?
God, yes, so many. I want to
What
see.
would be number one?
Iceland, Norway, Ireland. I don't know. God, there's so many. I haven't been to Hungary yet.
I don't recommend Eastern Europe right now.
I don't recommend Iceland right now.
Yeah, well, I've lived in war zones and other places, military dictatorships. So
I trust you.
Why not?
Yeah. So, what is your most favorite place you've ever been to?
Colombia,
Colombia.
hands down. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are many amazing and beautiful places that I absolutely love.
Hmm.
It'd be easier for me to single out the ones that I didn't care for.
Right.
But Colombia, yeah, that's the one it's the first place I've ever wanted to settle down.
It's
I do want
home.
to. I do
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
I do want to drop back, and there was a question up here. Oh, I don't want to ignore the comment section totally, but where is it? I lost the question.
I'm curious, who's the Warren Files? Is that you?
Who, me? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Oh, this said like off-topic question, not really what we're talking about, but it is a good question. How do I protect myself as I sleep?
Right. Depends on your faith, but let's just say it's the white light. As long as you believe in some higher power, the easiest thing for you to do when you're in bed at your most relaxed, and you can do this at night and in the morning, take 3 deep cleansing breaths with your eyes closed, in through the nose, hold it for a few seconds, and out through the mouth. Once you're centered, keeping your eyes closed, picture a warm, white, loving light deep inside of your chest. This is the light of God that we all carry within us. Then feel that spreading throughout you, filling you up, infusing you with its love and light, and then spilling out of the pores of your skin like the most brilliant white light in the universe. You don't have to be able to envision yourself at all. Just white, blowing away all the shadows in your house, all the shadows around you, and surrounding all of those that you love. That is incredibly powerful, because what you are doing is you are using your free will and your faith in a ritual that focuses your clear intention to call on God's protection. I always talk about prayer and how people will often say, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be the name of the King." And nothing happened, Chris. Well, yeah, but were you talking to God, or were you reciting magic words? Because when Jesus said, "Pray like this," he didn't say, "Memorize these words." He said, don't ask God for a new Cadillac. Don't ask God for a big house. Ask for your daily bread. Ask that his work be done and that you are helpful to that work. Accept that God's perspective is greater than yours. That is what faith is about. It's accepting God's perspective over your own. Sorry, I'm also a pastor.
So am I.
You're right. You're right. That was beautiful.
I've deemed myself the Pope of the First Church of Jeff the Baptist.
Oh, wow.
I'm legally ordained, so I can call myself
Yes.
that. If I
He
want.
also calls himself the Green Swamp Medium. So
Yes, I'm absolutely
Wow.
the green swan. I use innovative techniques in my mediumship skills. No one
That's-
else uses them. Probably
That
because
would
they
make
didn't
a
work
great
with the prep.
business card.
Right.
the dog's familia said, "Is spiritual communication through dreams the most normal?" Yes, absolutely. When you are on the dream plane, that you are closest to the astral plane, and it is easiest for them to reach you there. When you have spirit communication in your dreams, those dreams are more real and more memorable than ordinary dreams. They have a real impact.
I agree.
Corey, I think we're back to you.
Oh yeah. I had my dog visit me in my dream because I felt I felt so bad after she passed. It was like, oh, there you are, and then I felt better. So, whether she
my
visited
dog-
me or not.
Hey, my dog haunted me for 20 years until I got a new dog. Every single time I got sick, he would come, hit my hand with his nose, jump up on the bed, circle around, and lay down next to me, and I would feel it all.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mine came to the door and you could hear her tags and she scratched at the door. And it was like, my husband and I were both like, the dog's been gone 2 days now.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can come back. That was our first
yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in regards to being a pastor, when you do go out and do these investigations and, you want to do kind of a protection prayer, I'm sure you have those people in with you that are atheist or non-believers. And I want to ask you, how does that work? If they're atheist and they're just saying the words, like you said, my husband says, well, it's the intent that helps. And I'm going, no, I was raised Catholic. He was not raised anything. But I'm like, no, yes, it's the intent, but you have to have the belief there. Am I right?
Well, you're gonna find this answer interesting. I'm a pastor without a religion. I mean, without any religion. I am not Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Muslim. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Hindu. I'm not Buddhist. I'm not Umbandista. I'm nothing. And the reason for that is I have studied them all. With some amazing masters. And to me, we're all just blind men touching little pieces of something far larger than we can get a handle on. Mm-hmm. And those religions are just showing us a glimpse of what they perceive of God. It wasn't until I accepted my own ignorance and had to take God on faith that I found my faith. And that took years and years of searching. It was amazing to me how I had to accept that I was ego-driven to understand the mind of God. And when I realized that, that's when I found my faith. I gave up my ego.
Yeah, I gave up organized religion and decided that, yes, I believe there is a greater power out there. Do I know exactly what it is? Absolutely not. But, there is something greater. And it's not organized religion for me. Yeah.
As long as you believe that, your husband is closer to what I believe is accurate, which is it's all about the intention. Mm-hmm. It's that intention to connect with something greater than you that you have faith in. But using ritual is very important because it clarifies your intention and it focuses your energy and your faith. That's why all religions work. All exorcism rites work because it's about that faith and intention focused through their particular religion and rituals.
Oh, Chris, are you going to make me tell my husband he was right? That's terrible.
Oh,
he doesn't have
you'll never get into
very
that
often in his life, so I want him to send me a thank you note.
I will. I'll let him know.
This could be the best day of his life.
I thought I was right once, and then I was wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
he is most of the time, but I got to give him this one now.
Yeah. I mean, I actually kind of think, for me, atheist clients are the hardest to deal with because it's easier to work with people if they have a belief in something. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of times atheists are just like, man, I don't believe in anything, and they're difficult to get through to because
until they experience it.
Yeah.
For themselves.
Yeah. But it's like the old saying, there are no atheists in foxholes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
I think
it's usually the father of the house who is the last to believe that anything is happening in a house because he's the one that doesn't believe. And, the kids and the mom are more sensitive to it. They know something's going on.
You and I were just talking about that with the Netflix special that came out about the Devil Made Me Do It cases that the dad really wasn't.
That was a great special.
The dad really wasn't on board with what was going on with the Gletzel kid.
Not at first.
Not at first, and that's what you said. Why don't you talk about that for a second, since you know more about that case than what was in the documentary?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first 45 minutes of the special are quite good. The last 15, I'm not pleased with. Carl Glatzel was the oldest boy. He wanted to be rich off of this case, And when he didn't, especially after my grandmother's first movie came out, my grandfather was already gone by then. He tried to sue my grandmother to make money off of a movie that had nothing to do with their lives or their case. And when he lost that, he started selling things from the house. He's no longer talking to anybody else in the family. And he's just bitter, miserable guy. He made up stories that his mother was drugging the family, and
Yeah.
they had my grandparents had brought them out to Hollywood, which is bull crap. That was Dick Clark, for anybody who remembers him. Dick Clark wanted to do a TV movie called The Demon Murder Case, with Andy Griffith playing a character similar to my grandfather, but not named Ed Warren. And Kevin Bacon playing an Arnie Johnson character. It's on YouTube. That was the guy that brought them out to Hollywood, and that family got paid for that. And my grandparents, when the book was done, everyone shared equally. The parents, my grandparents, and the writer of the book. So I don't know what his issues are, but when money is in play, then people can act very crazy. I've seen it many times in this field.
Ashley, let's go back to you. What's your next question?
I could actually probably piggyback off that again. As we know, the Conjuring movies and the shows have just boomed into society. And I love your opinion as a person that was there. Do you feel like the movies are doing your grandparents justice, or is there anything that you'd like to see in a future movie that maybe would align with more of who they were for the world?
The movies are Hollywood fantasies.
Right.
My grandfather, for instance, in the first movie, he supposedly does an exorcism. That never happened. Right. And in the first Conjuring case, my grandparents were involved in that for up to 10 years, I think, maybe 8 years. It was not a case they were particularly proud of. They made a lot of mistakes. They were still learning back then. It was the 1960s. And they had only been working in the field for 20 years. And you got to understand, they didn't have the benefit of somebody else teaching them the way I did. Right. I got to learn from them and then go on my own. They didn't have that. So they were still figuring it all out. The second movie, honestly, it's bull. I can't stand it. The Annabelle movies are complete Hollywood fantasies. The Nun doesn't exist.
Right.
The Maurice Theriault case, I would like to see that one become a real movie. The only thing they did with it, though, was in the credits for The Nun. They reveal at the end of The Nun that the character known as Frenchie is Maurice Theriault, although I think they called him something slightly different.
They called him Frenchie in the movie.
Yeah, but they also came up, not Maurice, but Mauricio or something. I don't remember. And they actually show clips of the exorcism of Maurice in the credits. That was real. My grandfather had a heart attack during that exorcism. And I was the man standing between the Archbishop and Maurice during the exorcism. My grandfather back then, he was in his 50s. They weren't doing the heavy lifting at that point. They were letting the young guys do all that.
And actually, the Nun 2, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but one of the main characters in the Nun 2 is Frenchie, which, like you said,
really?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean,
he was.
Hollywood
I enjoyed
good,
it. Yeah, good. Exactly. I'm a little disappointed to hear that these movies aren't documentaries. I always thought they were.
Well, I want to see it, but I like the first Annabelle movie as a horror film.
Yeah.
Another one was The Haunting in Connecticut. That was actually my case. My grandparents gave it to me. I lived in that haunted funeral home for 9.5 weeks, every single night. And that was a bad case, but the movie and the book, In a Dark Place, are absolute garbage. So yeah, I would love it to see it done correctly. There was a documentary called A Haunting in Connecticut on Discovery Channel. It was available on YouTube a few years ago. I don't know if it still is. That was quite good.
Mhm.
I think there's also an episode where the Snedekers were on. It
Mhm.
was one of the old talk shows, the daytime talk shows from back in the day. Like, it wasn't Jerry Springer, but one of those.
No, it was Sally Jesse Raphael.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There's
go.
a-
You can find that on YouTube. Everybody should go watch that. That was a
Yeah, I
really
saw
good
that.
interview. They're
I
That was
just
one of my-
found. I'm sorry, but I was on Geraldo when Ghostbusters 2 came out with Carmen Snedeker, as well as another woman that I had worked on a poltergeist case in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Back then, I wasn't very good at protecting people from the public as I am today. And I just found out that my father had a videotape of that episode, so I have it with me. I have to figure out a way to get it transferred digitally, and then we can upload it.
Oh yeah, there's a service that'll do that. Remind me to talk to you about that, because I'd definitely be curious as to seeing that. First of all, I want to see the best comment. I'm going to display this. That everybody, this is now an official request that people want to see a real documentary about the Green Swamp Medium. So I think we're going to have to make that happen.
Well, I'll tell you what,
I
I'll be
love
the
that.
host, and I'll interview you one week.
Oh, this is going to be from my side. This is what's it called? A damn autobiography. It'll be based on that, so it'll be great. And I do have to update everybody. According to Spirit Talker, I'm pretty much screwed. There's bodies buried outside. There's
Oh, wow.
a couple of them here. They're trapped here. Jesus is involved somehow.
Now you're on an FBI watch list.
She's
Uh-huh. Can we come investigate that house, please?
He's
Yeah.
over there, and she's gonna harm me. Like, I'm pretty well screwed.
Can we just now let everyone know that these apps are absolute garbage?
What are you talking about?
folks-
Why don't you believe this?
Well, in theory, energy manipulation is the simplest thing a spirit can do, but it doesn't need an application to do it. That's AI generating crap to titillate and excite people, and then YouTubers use it to get hits and likes and clicks and make money off of their videos. So, yeah, please.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You
There's a
cannot
lot of
download an EMF reader on your phone. Your phone doesn't have the capability to do that.
Yeah, I did this, like I said last night in the green room before we started the show. For the last few nights, I've just let this run for 10 minutes, just not ask questions and blah, blah, blah. But last night I wrote down, so it would say something. And then I wrote down 2 or 3 questions that if I were investigating and believed in this app, that I would ask. And like what I say, 7 out of 10 times a response was relevant to one of my questions, which then leads to another question that's then relevant. It's like these apps, if you use them, they can drive your investigation, and you never want that to happen. So,
Exactly.
and it's these are garbage, but they're fun to watch. So I think we're back to Corey, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Chris, I went to the Virginia City Cemetery. Virginia City, Nevada is an old mining town, known for gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
Never go into the museum that shows you where all the mines are at, because you're going to come out with the fear that the mountain's just going to collapse. It looks like Swiss cheese. But we went into the cemetery one day, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden, the only way I can explain it is I zoned out, and I was on the main street in Virginia City with a stagecoach coming towards me. There were women in period dress walking by. And then for whatever reason, I snapped out of it. And at that point in time, I had my recorder in my hand, and it locked up. I had to take the batteries out to get it restarted. Just at that moment. So is the veil thin enough that stuff like that could happen, or do you feel that it would be a spirit passing through with those memories?
Either
way?
explanation is possible, because I have friends in Canada who had a similar experience where they were investigating with their team two of them went down in the basement, including my friend, and they could hear everyone moving around the house for an hour. And then the basement door opened, and then it closed by itself, and footsteps went upstairs, but they didn't see anyone. And when they went back upstairs, everybody was like, "Where have you been?" We looked all over. Said, "We were down in the basement." I said, "We went down in the basement. You weren't there." They had slipped into a side dimension, if you will. At least that's the only explanation I can come up with.
Yeah.
My question is, when it happened to you, could you smell? Could you feel it? Was it real?
Yes.
Or was it a vision?
It hovered somewhere in between. I hate to say that, but it did. I'm sitting in the middle of the cemetery. It's Nevada. We have a lot of dirt. So the smell of the dirt and the warmth of the air was already there. So I'm going to go ahead and say it was a vision. And I'm about as psychic as a carrot. So it, it wasn't like, I was having a medium moment. But I'm going to go with vision, because I can't say that it was real, because everything that was happening around me in this vision was also happening around me just sitting in the cemetery. So
I'm not sure I understand that last part. I mean, you were still aware of the cemetery?
We were sitting in the cemetery. I wasn't aware of the cemetery when I was having that vision.
Okay. All right.
But
I don't know. That's my answer.
Yeah. Well, but it could be either or. Somebody passing through who gave it to me, and it was a vision that they had, or a slip of the veil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Either one.
As the Green Swamp Medium, we'll be doing some classes about that here. That we're charging $99.95 for the first 10 minutes. That's coming in the future. And I mean no disrespect to mediums. I have lots of medium friends. They know the whole joke behind this. So I don't want the mediums, filling up my inbox with hate mail, saying I'm disrespectful. So,
hey, Jeff, by the way, we have that lecture. What is it? 3-hour lecture I did in New Zealand last year.
I have yet to see that.
Really? I sent you the link.
Did you?
Ages ago. But okay. I'll look for it again.
Okay.
But I was thinking, if people want to learn more about the paranormal, learn more about individual cases of my grandparents and myself, that lecture is a good one. And we do want to start making money to support the foundation. That would be a way for us to do it by, selling copies of it for $25, digital copies. I mean, obviously, we have to make sure that they can't be redistributed.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off the air, because it's a business topic. So
I just wanted to gauge anyone's interest while they were listening.
Yeah, no, I will say I really want to focus on building up our YouTube channel, and I want to put a lot more educational content on there. We do have, I think we have 40,000 subs, but we don't utilize that channel as like we should. So I've talked to a couple people, and we're going to start really starting to put out content. I don't know if people know this either too, and I'm just going to, I guess, plug our YouTube channel for a minute. But we shut down our Patreon page. So we started to put some of the content that was on Patreon. We've put it on YouTube. And one of the things that we're featuring on there right now is the audiobook, The Demonologist. So Chris will read the chapter and then give his commentary as the next episode, and then read the next chapter and so forth. So that's something.
Which means I got to get back to doing that to finish it.
Yep, I haven't caught up loading to where we stopped, but yeah.
Great. And also Instagram, Warren Files, has finally been vitalized, and I'm using that on a regular basis now to keep in touch with people, to communicate with people. I am very easy to get a hold of, folks. Anybody who wants to can. So keep that in mind. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a prima donna. I'm just a guy. So if you've got something you need to ask me.
Yeah, and probably the best way to get a hold of you directly is to hit up your Facebook profile, Chris McKinnell, right?
Yeah, or Warren Files Instagram now.
Okay.
I use both
Okay.
equally.
Yeah, I know, because I had to turn the notifications off because they were driving me nuts. He did a couple events. Where you were in Brazil, right?
Yeah, in Sao Paulo.
God, that weekend, that Instagram, those notifications in the messenger went off every 30 seconds for like 4 days. I was going crazy.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out how to turn it off. So, Ashley, I think we're back up to you with the question.
Yeah, we're doing quite good.
Yeah. So we spoke a little bit ago, and I'm sorry to backtrack, but just to get your opinion. Obviously, everybody agrees that the apps suck. So let's say you want to investigate, and this is going back your teaching. What would you say? And there's tons of equipment now on this today that are expensive down to affordable. What is your favorite? Like what is your go-to?
My iPad.
Okay.
I
Like for
don't use ghost boxes or anything.
Mhm.
I am not a gadget guy. I've got plenty of gadget people in the foundation who love them. I can tell you there is only one technique I find to be at all reputable. That's the Estes method.
Can I add to that? Let me pause you just for 1 second. I don't want to interrupt, but I don't want to forget to say this. So a lot of us, you said a lot of our members like these pieces of equipment, stuff like that, on ghost hunts. Not like I'm not going to break out the cat balls in a residential case and say, yeah, you have a bad spirit in your house because the cat balls lit up. So, and none of our investigators use that type of equipment for residential investigations. There's a definite difference on what we use for that versus what we use to go to a ghost hunt at a location.
Yeah.
So sorry, Chris, I just had to interject that.
No, thank you. Because I was trying to think of the cat balls as a thing to say, terrible. Also, the stick figure camera, another thing that you never use.
Yeah.
A lot of false crap. EMF readers are fine if you are able to shut down the power in the entire house, unless you're actually an electrician and you're trying to find out if there's strong electrical currents, like maybe next to the headboard of the bed where the people have been having visions, because that's a good explanation, and maybe you just have to move the bed across the room.
That actually happened.
Explanation.
That actually happened on an investigation that I did. Is this girl was seeing crazy stuff like demonic witches, all this. The EMF where she laid her head at night was a 30 milligauss, which is crazy high. So she was subject to that all freaking night long. So
yeah, Ghost Hunters did an episode on that one where they took the EMF and they were like, wow, this is not okay. And that's probably what's causing her to see things. So
it's bad for your health too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm basic, so I take a recorder and my camera. That's all I use.
That's what I use.
Me too. That's why I use the iPad. It's got both. I do my interviews, recording them on there. I take my photos on there, my video on there, and that's it. I'm done. Or maybe a camera on my phone. Now that I finally have a phone. But the Estes method, for the people who don't know what that is, it's a spirit box with headphones, basically, and one person is listening. They may not even be in the same room as the questioner, but basically they cannot hear the questioner with the headphones on. Somebody else is asking the spirit questions, and the person with the spirit box is just shouting out answers. That gets rid of any bias that comes from this. You can hear two different things from the same exact noise, depending on what you think you want to hear. So you have to be very careful about that. And that's why I like the Estes method.
Like I said, these apps and things like the Ovilus and stuff like that have programmed words. Every time I watch people use them, the responses drive the questioning. It's never, I guess if you were to really test this app or test the Ovilus, you would have a list of questions that you have written before you even stepped into a place. You stick to that list and that's it.
Exactly.
And then if you get an intelligent response to random I mean, it might be something to look into, because I have had a couple instances where the Ovilus were like, okay, I was ready to throw this thing in the garbage, but why did it say Story when we were right in front of a headstone and the family's name was Story? And it was the mom and it said Mama. So, I mean, that's the only time I've ever seen the Ovilus actually like, okay, I'm not going to throw you away yet.
Yeah. There's a guy that sells spirit boxes online for like $4,000. They're basically broken radios, and he's a con man. He
Which one?
I can't remember his name, but he's got rabid followers.
Is it Huff?
Yes.
Huff? Yes.
Yes.
That guy makes me sick.
He makes me sick. He takes celebrities' voices of people who died, and he distorts them and then plays them as though he's actually having conversations with my grandparents, for instance. Yep. And I know for a fact he wasn't talking to them. Yeah. My grandmother appears to me regularly. So I talk to her.
Yeah, there's big financial motivation for people to fake that stuff on YouTube. I mean, you can really, if you know what you're doing and you have a lot of subscribers and a lot of views and all that stuff, you can really make a lot of money doing YouTube stuff. Yeah. And he does make a lot of money on YouTube because his followers love him. All right, I think we're back to Corey.
Yes. Yeah. So, Chris, what's the worst case that you've seen that you've thought, you know what, you people need to move and get out of here because there's not a heck of a lot can be done?
Yeah, there have been cases like that, but the truth is, most of the time, it's the people, it's not the place. And even running isn't going to solve the problem. Because, for instance, the Lutzes in Amityville, it followed them when they left. It wasn't as though they had an easy time afterward. They didn't. It took a long time for them to get together. I met them. They were very real, very good people. I have found that fear is the enemy, and that once people can overcome their fear of what they're dealing with, then they can really start to fight back and overcome it. But it takes that faith and the willingness to give up your fear. Most of us are just afraid because we're ignorant of what we're dealing with. You know, we hear footsteps or something flies across the room and we think, oh my God, I'm under attack. Well, did it hit you, or is it just trying to get your attention? Mm-hmm. You know, is it something just somebody stroked your hair in the middle of the night? How do you know that wasn't your grandmother letting you know that she's there watching over you? You know, don't jump to the conclusion that it's evil. Base it on the outcome, not on your fear.
Yeah, I remember your grandmother saying that in something I was watching of, you know, just because something gets thrown across the room does not mean that it's evil, or it's just, you know, they're trying to get your attention. They have something to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, my grandmother actually loves the foundation. She helped me found it. And she appears to an awful lot of the foundation members. She's really proud of us, which makes me very happy. She likes the work we're doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I think one of the things, I'm going back to something you said earlier. You know, some of the mistakes, and you've told me this too, maybe off air. Some of the mistakes that your grandparents made and that you've made in the past. And I think the biggest one that you always acknowledge is the fact of client anonymity. Of client anonymity.
Yes.
Is you've said that a lot of the cases that your grandparents handled that went public really, really caused a lot of harm to and it wasn't, they didn't intentionally cause harm to people or anything like that. It was, it's not good to go public. You don't want, it's not as bad nowadays. because I mean, there's paranormal stuff all over. Not saying we want to put our clients' names out there and stuff like that, but it's not. It's more accepted now than it was then. I mean, you were a freak if you had a haunted house back then. I mean, you were crazy.
And in small towns today, you're
Yeah.
still treated like a pariah if
Mhm.
they, somebody starts thinking, oh, they think they've got ghosts in their house.
Yep.
The neighbors aren't going to be happy about the resale value of the neighborhood or anything else.
Yep.
So no, we do not ever publicize our cases. We'll talk about cases in general
Mhm.
and talk about particular cases without revealing any personal information so that we get educate the public, but we won't reveal anything that could let the family be exposed.
Well, your
I think of us
grandparents.
as normal social workers, not investigators.
Well, your grandparents did that investigation on the adopted girl. God, way back when, I
Oh,
can't
you mean
remember.
in Lindley Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut,
Yes,
72 or 3?
yes, and that backfired on them so badly, and I just felt so bad. I read the book, and I just felt so bad at, it's like it just became a circus. It sounds like.
Oh, it was terrible. And then the police couldn't deal with it. I mean, they experienced the phenomena and everything else, but Lindley Street's still there. The house is still there. It's this tiny, itty bitty little place, and it's right near the local hospital, and it's a bunch of back streets, and there were thousands and thousands of cars there locking it up, so nobody could get to the hospital, nobody could get to work, nobody could go anywhere, and the police just finally just said, no, this is a hoax, this is bull crap, and everybody
Even
go
though
home.
they saw what they saw at first, they denied it later.
Yeah.
And that poor girl didn't get the help that she needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going public can be a bad idea for sure. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to try to wrap it up. We try and keep this to about an hour. So let's go ahead and Ashley, go ahead and ask one more question, then we'll get back to Corey.
Okay. Well, this has been amazing. So I want to end my questions with, okay, the Warren Foundation seems amazing. So is there anything upcoming? Like what's the goals for, let's say, the future next 5 years? Do you have anything that you're hoping to accomplish there?
Oh, quite a bit in the next 5 years. I'm 59 years old, so
Hmm.
I want to get it all done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I want to finish my autobiography and
Mhm.
get that out there so that I can start educating people better. And we're working on a TV series that will be education based, not fear based,
Nice.
and will not be a haunting of the week kind of crap.
Hmm.
I'm working on a spiritual retreat and paranormal education center in Colombia that will be open to the world. It's
Wow.
a place where people can really learn about the paranormal, but also learn how to overcome their fears and take control of their lives. As I said, I'm going to be starting to do more paracons so I can get out there and publicize the foundation more, because the truth is, we need your help, everyone, in getting the word out there about the foundation. We've got a following, but
Mhm.
we're not reaching the actual people who need help, and they're the ones that matter. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
I love you all, but
Mhm.
we need to reach those in need.
Right.
So
Love it.
That's
that's the basics.
Mhm.
Expanding, continuing the good ethics that we promote, and hopefully becoming a greater force for good in the world.
and that's as a manager of the foundation, I'll answer that question as well. I mean, we need, in order to get the word out, people need to know who we are, and for
Right.
people to know who we are, we have to put out good content. But you can't sell out and you can't put out the same crap that everybody else is doing. So it's kind of one of my personal goals is to find content that is entertaining and educational, and
Right.
not a sellout in any way, because I won't go do an investigation and use a cell phone app just to get content for our YouTube channel.
Right.
And
No.
if we stick to where we're at in our status in the paranormal community, because I won't do that, well then we'll have to find a different way, or we'll just stay where we're at, because I won't sell out. And
No.
the members that we have are of the same mindset. You know, no one is the people that are in this foundation are in it to help people. That's why most of them aren't even known, most of the members. It's because their sole purpose is to help people, and that's it.
Yeah.
But we've, you know, as managers and Chris, we have to try and get something out to get noticed so that we can help more people, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Cool. Corey, you got one last one for us?
I don't. Ashley covered the question that I was going to ask. She's so brilliant. But I just thank you for the opportunity. And Chris, it was amazing to speak with you and hear, you know, about your experiences and get your knowledge. I mean, that's the big one, is getting your knowledge.
You know, I'm a teacher, but I'm a student, and I'll always be a student. I'm not an expert. Nobody is. What I would have told you 5 years ago, it could be quite different from what I'm going to say 5 years from now. It all depends on what evidence I gather, because this is a field that is always adapting and growing, and it has to. It's not a religion. It can't be treated as a religion. That's why I don't like the idea of demonology at all, because that's always from one religious perspective. If people think I'm a demonologist, then perhaps I am, but then I'm the only one that exists as far as I know, because I do it from a multicultural, multi-denominational perspective, and I don't know anybody else out there who's doing that. But then again, I don't believe in demons per se. You know, I know the history of how they were created and where they come from and everything else, and the evolution of all of that. And it's fascinating. It's extraordinary to see that evolution, but it's not what people think as a religion, and it shouldn't be treated that way.
Yeah, I'll fight you on that, but that's for a different show. I'm just kidding. I guess I got to give a Spirit Talker update here, just real quick before we end the show. So apparently Ryan was attacked with a machete.
Poor Ryan.
Man, there's Frank is here with us tonight. Patricia, Ryan's here. Sarah, we got a packed house here.
You have a lot of machete attacks in Ohio?
Well, apparently we do. I just didn't hear about them until tonight. So yeah. No, we don't actually. So that's the short answer. So yeah, again, I'm going to do this again. I think this was really cool to have, you know, people that follow the page. You, Ashley and Corey, you guys were both fantastic. You were, like I said, this was either going to be the best idea I had or the absolute worst. And this was a very, very good idea based on you two being guests on the show. You guys were fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you, ladies. You were both absolutely wonderful. I'm sorry that we lost our other interviewer before we started, but
thank you so much.
You know, we can have this again with new people and new perspectives. I would love to do this.
Yep, we'll definitely do this again. So I guess we'll outro with everybody. Remember that next week we're going to have Cindy Keza on. Most people that follow anything paranormal on TV or anything like that knows that she is a very, very good. She's a legit psychic medium too. She's not. I'm not going to classify her as a TV psychic medium, but she is very well known on the TV shows. But she offers a lot of classes. She's the real deal. So we're looking forward to that, to having her on next week. And this is it's always weird how you end this, because you click end stream and there's this awkward just wait. So I'm going to ask you ladies to stay on, and Chris, stay on just for 1 second. I'm going to try and end this.
Hey, thank you everyone for coming on. Thank you for watching and for your support.